In this video, I'm going to show you how to test the backup battery for the ohmic test. This is going to be for a ADT Unimode 4520. It's a pretty old panel. Came out in the 1980s. See on the front here is ADT Unimode system 4520. So that's the model. So always with this short preamble, in 2019, the code changed for backup battery testing for the NFPA 72. 2016 versions and older had you primarily doing load test and voltage test. And then 2019 added temperature testing, it added ohmic testing, and it bumped the load test from semi-annual testing to testing after 3 years. So I'm going to show you that ohmic test. So just for quick clarification, temperature test every 6 months or semi-annually, voltage test semi-annually, ohmic test semi-annually, and then load test after 3 years. So those are the changes basically for the backup battery test. So we have our backup batteries right here. These are 12-volt batteries, and it has a loop, so it's a 24-volt backup system. So we're just going to take our leads off, probably separate these a little bit, maybe, or not. There we go. So it looks like based on the install date, the stamp says 2024-9/13. So that was the stamp date, and it looks like they were put in March 4th, 2025. And as of filming, it's February of 2026, so about a year they've been in service. So we're going to do our ohmic test. Now, normally when you put in batteries, you're supposed to take a baseline reading first. So brand new batteries, when these were put in March of last year, you would do an ohmic test. Brand new batteries you put in, you do an ohmic test, and that's going to be your established baseline. And then every semi-annual inspection after that, you do the ohmic test against your baseline, and you're looking for a variance from either the internal resistance or internal conductance. If it's internal resistance, it's going to be an increase in resistance of more than 40%. And if it's going to be internal conductance, it's going to be the conductance reduced more than 30%. So internal resistance is the impedance of how difficult it is to flow, or how difficult for the electricity to flow, and conductance is how easy it's to flow, essentially. So my meter does internal resistance, so that's what we're going to measure. So I'm going to look for a 40% variance. But again, I do not have the established baseline. It's not written anywhere on here. Most manufacturers will have a out of the factory generic kind of baseline number. It's usually between like 10 and 20 milliohms or something like that. But I don't like to go off that. I prefer it that we do the ohmic test upon installation like we're supposed to, because every battery's gonna be a little different, and then every 6 months, you'll do your ohmic test against your baseline. So we're just gonna show you the process. So I'm gonna disconnect my leads here. Probably get a BP battery, we'll see. Although the trouble's already silenced, that's on there. Do this one-handed. Okay. Turn on our meter. So mine does load testing as well. So I'm going to select my amperage. So it's at 7. So these are 12s. Oops. So select that. Should verify. So I should have showed you all of that. So 12 volt, 12 amp. See that? 12 volt, 12 amp. So there's going to be 12 amps. Oops, I already did it. So now we're going to run our test. And so I have 4 numbers here. I have my voltage open, my voltage under load, my capacitance, and my milliohms reading. So 92 milliohms is kind of high for batteries, honestly. That would be a fail. Usually like anything above like 50, I would definitely fail. But again, I don't have an initial baseline. So I really don't know. It's high, because maybe the baseline ohmic reading was 90 or something, you know what I mean? It only went up 92, but let's pretend that out of the factory these were at 10 milliohms, right? So if I tested it and it comes out at 90 milliohms, that's like, multiples higher than what's allowed. Far beyond 40%, multiples beyond it. So if it was basically 10 milliohms out of the factory, or a baseline, and then I test it, anything over 14 milliohms is a fail because that's greater than 40%. So this would be a fail, right? But again, I don't have the established baseline. So if I did, I would measure that number against it. So I'm just going to do a retest because I just like to be sure, like to be consistent with my numbers. Okay, yeah, still at 92. All my other numbers still look the same. So I would fail that because, like I said, out of the factory, these batteries typically are, 10 to 20, maybe a little higher, just depends, but 90 is really high. So I would fail that. But again, without the baseline, kind of doesn't matter because I don't really know what these were put in at. So that's one battery. Put that lead back on. Come on. There we go. Put that lead back on. And then take this one off. Oops. Little cover came off. I'll fix that later. All right. So now I've got the other battery. So let's put our clips on. All right, clips are on. Battery number 2. So you can see the setup. All right, so power on. It's already set to 12 because it just did a 12 battery, so we're going to hit test. So this is 108 milliohm. So I got my voltage open, voltage load, capacitance, and then milliohms. So we're at 108. So still high on these ones. So again, without the established baseline, I don't know what these were out of the factory. Like they could have been 90 milliohms and they're 108, so that'd be like less than 40%, so they would technically pass. But again, a lot of batteries out of the factory would kind of be like 10 or 20, 50 would be really high, milliohms, and this is over 100, so this is, again, multiples higher. We're looking for a 40% variance. This is well beyond, this is a few 100%, increase. So these would be fail. Like I said, anything over 50, I would pretty much just fail it. So that's over 100. So we could, take those off. Put that back. And then do this without my hand being protected. Maybe I could fix this real quick. Let's see. Does it slide back on easily? Oh, yeah. Doing service in the field. All right. So there we go. So again, ohmic test, do it semi-annually. Changed in the 2019 code, got added. When you put batteries in, you're supposed to do an initial ohmic test, which you can measure either internal resistance or internal conductance. If you're doing resistance, anytime you do an inspection or ohmic test after the initial baseline test, you're looking for an increase of greater than 40% for resistance or reduction of greater than 30% for conductance. So resistance greater than 40%, conductance reduced by 30%. And that would be a fail in that situation. But it's all based on the initial baseline. So anyway, that is how you do the ohmic test for the ADT Unimode 4520 fire alarm panel.